What's up, guys? It's Six, and this is the Crime Chronicles. I just wanted to give you guys a little backstory, a little background on me, just so you guys know kind of where I come from and stuff. Troubled past. Today, I want to get into Elan, which was a high intense last stop residential treatment center for teens. And I think that place really made me into I learned a lot of who I was to become in that program. So to give you a backstory of where I was and how I kind of gravitated towards ending up there. So my parents were separated when I was two, and my mom came down south and my dad migrated up north. And from that, so I bounced back and forth up north, down south. uh, Growing up, to say that I was a troubled youth is kind of underplaying it, but I wouldn't say that. I've always been a smart kid. um, Behavioral issues, so class clown, uh, fighting, the whole troubled teen thing. Went from school to school to behavioral school, and at around the age of 15, I started getting into like recreational crimes. We were doing like burglaries, getting like change and all, the jitterbug stuff, taking it to the arcade and whatnot. So while I was doing all of that and getting arrested and stuff, my dad was like, look, listen, he was all for me trying to learn. Like back in that time, like they were, well, when I was a kid, I guess they're doing it now, but they wanted to try to bring me out of whatever trauma I was going through because they saw the potential in me being this good kid. You know the story. So they off from a detention center, I went to a place called Long Lane from that youth detention center, and it was horrible there. Fights, gangs, knives. I used to sneak. I had got a hold of this master key, and I don't even remember how. I think I was drawer surfing and stuff, and where I wasn't supposed. Anyway, I got a hold of this master key, and I used to sneak around and get a big thing. We used to call them choke sandwiches. And it was peanut butter and jelly, and I would make these choke sandwiches and I'd be selling them hot. Anyway, from that program, because they wanted to kick me out of that detention center, they offered my father this last of the Mohegans treatment center in Poland, Maine, called Elan. This place is high intense. It is intense. They yell at you, scream at you, as a form of discipline. So let me bring you there. So there they offered my dad Long Lane, the detention center. They offered my dad this program. They would have to drive me up to Poland, Maine, and I would be there for 18 months. My dad took him a while to kind of accept it, and he sent me up there, obviously. So I go this long drive, and the place was intense from walking in the door. They separate people, strength, non-strength, big brother. So going in, you're not allowed to speak to people. You can't. It's co-ed. It's this big house-like mansion-y kind of thing, because there's all these upstairs, and that's the men's area with our different offices, and downstairs is where the women sleep, and we kind of interact and mingle, but everyone is aware of it. Like they know, like you can't do stuff with the women and all that, because the women are there, the girls, 15-year-olds, 16, 17, 18, they're there for trauma, whatever the girls have been going through young in their life, and you can just imagine what they were going through. That element is present, so they make sure that, don't traumatize this girl with these relationships or whatever. Intense. You're scrubbing floors. Any type of disciplinary measure is met with immediate consequence. They encourage, obviously, all these programs encourage, you telling on other other residents and stuff. And as a consequence, like say, I didn't make my bed as a and you know we're late doing such. Somebody will write me up. You didn't make your bed, or you were loud in the dormitories. You get what's called a verbal reprimand. You knock on the door, bop bop bop, and there's four residents in there, and they seat according to their position, their dichotomy. Coordinators, you know, all these strength positions you sit. So you knock. They say, who's out there? You say, you know, six. They say, come in. When you come in, you stand in front of them and they're seated. One, two, three, four, you know, residents seated. And the head guy, he's got this book and it's written, you know, your learning experience, your thing that you did is written in this book. It says here you were such and such and such a, and they tell you the time and everything. And then they go to, it's a verbal reprimand and they yell it. A VR, verbal reprimand, it's loud. So this guy, and they do it in turn. Yeah, I say to you, don't be doing this. And the link will be in the description below about Elan and the craziness that went on post, because that place has been shut down. People have said that they were traumatized. Some people say that that place was a life changer. And because of that place, that like now they are in a better space. And then there are some people that said, man, that place changed me. So they yell at you, and those are the good yellings. Like disciplinary stuff, they have what's called general meetings, where you stand in front of a house of 60 people between the men and the women, and like they line, you know, they have the house, everybody gets up that wants to yell at you for whatever reason, and fuck you, you doing all of this stuff, this crazy, fuck you, you know, but there's like this cadence to it, and everybody yells at you, and then the staff, they're yelling, they're in your face, it's intense. When you have your parent groups and meetings, you yell at your parents, whatever old stuff, you know, we're here to deal, so you yell at them. There was that. I met a guy there named Peter Rowe that was one of the staff, and like he challenged me. Like it wasn't about the psychological stuff with him. It was like he hit my man button. No diddy. He would challenge me. Like we had these events like running and jogging, track. It was always be better, do better. I had behavior issues and I wouldn't advance, and he would challenge that. What you're scared to be. You're scared to be a leader. You know, you can lead cats. I'll say you can talk all the crap you want, and that resonated. So, but that was after time. Man, I was a knuckle. It took me a very long time to become a part of their system. But man, the people would run away, and the girls there, and when I looked online and saw they did the documentary and the different people, I saw a girl that I knew there, and I'm interested to look that up. Now that I'm thinking about it, I want to see where she is. I remember her name. I can see her with these braces back then. Yeah, so that was Elan. After I graduated Elan, and that was an 18-month program. And by the way, I couldn't graduate because the insurance kind of ran out. They released me, you know, home. My dad came up, picked me up. I come back, and because I had ruined my surrogate home with my dad, my stepmom, and all of that stuff, I wasn't welcome back at that house because of what had happened with the turmoil with my dad's new family, his other family, I should say. Now, mind you, stepmother has love for me. My stepsister loves me to death. I was her brother and all of that. That's the whole different thing. She's awesome. Just wasn't, and I did horrible stuff to her. I had stole her car, totaled it, this little MR2 Toyota that she was just so proud of, a little sporty car, flipped it. And it wasn't in a malicious way. I didn't do it maliciously. I, you know, just legit doing dumb, crazy stuff. So I got out, and my dad put me in my own apartment next to the city that we were living in. So I was working, and this was at the age of 17, 18. So when he put me in my own apartment, and I had me a little job and everything, but I am unsupervised. So then I start running with these gangs, and I wasn't a gang member. I just ran with them. And that's when I like learned that other spectrum, the streets type shit. And so when I start mixing in with the gang members and all of that stuff, we started carjacking cars. And the thing was, we would carjack them in New York, bring them to Connecticut, sell them. We get a couple $2,500 or whatever. And we were doing this, and of course got busted. And my MO was, when I would pull people over, I'd fire off a warning shot. And that like linked me to these other things and all of this stuff. And a lawyer and youthful offender later, I did 19 months, and that's how long it took for that youthful offender on that carjacking charge. And it was the worst type of carjacking. It was the carjacking kidnapping. So I did the 19 months, and they kind of time served me. I forget what the final disposition was. I know that everything fell under youthful offender umbrella, and I was able to get out after that 19 month. But I had went to Manson Youth Institution. I went to Big Cheshire. I've been to all these prisons. I did get sentenced. So I did county time. I got sentenced and then went to prison. So they didn't release it. I had got time. And I went to a few of those camps. And those stories are crazy in the beginning, because that's old school prison. That's old school prison. I don't want to glorify all of that stuff and how tough I am and those stories, but I did come out of there like a changed man, a molded man. So when I got out of prison then, I was 20, about to be 21, and I was ready to go to Florida, my mom and everything. So when I got out, my dad gave me a ticket, immediately, and I came to Florida. Now, I came to Florida, mind you, I haven't had those teenage years. So like all those teenagers, I'm in programs, I've been here, there. So I'm getting out, and I haven't had that 18 time period and everything. So I come here, and my sister's in jail. So I get off the bus with an address in Tampa, and I'm like, she's not answering the phone. I have no clue. I'm asking people. This was before Uber and all of that. So I'm like, where's this place? Nobody knows. It was one of those streets in an apartment complex. So it wasn't like known like that. But, I found my way. And I remember getting off and then walking down this long street because someone gave me kind of directions. It should be down there. I bumbled and stumbled to my sister's place. She's not there. Her roommate's there, gives me the bad news. I'm like, fuck. But my sister's a soldier, more of a soldier than I'll ever be. She was a soldier, so she was doing her thing. I'm trying to find footing. I had this big old 45 back then, chrome, thinking that, I just had a different mindset, So I'm riding around with this thing like that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I saw the bad end of that. Like I saw that this wasn't up north. I didn't really need to be that tough guy. People walk around in shower slides. Like, on the corner, homeboy, shower slides. So the temperature wasn't like it was up north. So I wound up selling that gun. And that's when I kind of got into fraud. Like I had met someone who taught me about check fraud. Back then we were calling First Union, and as long as you had a name, date of birth, social security number, everything matched and it was an actual person, they'll send you a book of checks. So I get this book of check and write check. Did that for a little while, and I mean, just calling. I had not 100, I would say maybe 30 different accounts of these checks, books of checks, different accounts. And I would write it. That one will go bad, go to the next one, go to the next one. Then I learned that you can alter the bottom of the check with a razor. So to the computer, When you scratch off a space is a number. So I would take the ones, the less ink, and then I take a razor and just ever so lightly take my time, and I would erase that number off. That space is a whole nother digit. So then I would refurbish all these checks. So now the account number and every line, that I can erase, I'm just whole nother. Then I would work that account so long that the ID number that I was using, that would turn bad. And IDs, I was just writing. I didn't have an ID Connect back then, so it was all manipulating the sales attendants. I'd find someone real susceptible to my charms, and and I just wrote my ID number at the top. All of it, all my information is at the top already. With my smile and all of this stuff. So yeah, so I was doing that. Oh, and before I was really profiting off of returns with these checks, I was doing what I call grocery runs. So I had people, and that was back then. It was called there was a place, Cash and Carry, which is the grocery store, and I set up a whole hustle with Cash and Carry. They were susceptible. They had a check system called Scan, and Scan was very easy to deceive and manipulate. So what I would do was, and Cash and Carries were everywhere, like that was the popular store. In a day's time, I'm doing shopping runs. I would have, Tom at this Cash and Carry would start there. And while I'm there, because I'm going to grab some stuff and Tom's going to go, I would have, Jeanette at the other Cash and Carry. Right when we're about done, all right, you go, head there and you shop. So when we checking out, I would split the bill in two because he's my roommate. I'd write a check for him, overwrite the check for $50 because you can get cash back for your checks. So I'd write the check for my roommate, cash back 50, write the check for me, cash back 50. And I forgot my carton of cigarettes. I wasn't even smoking back then. And go to the service desk and overwrite. So that's $150 in cash. Then whatever these groceries are, I'm charging half price. So, and you at least need to come and get $300 worth of shit. I'm not, writing a check for $30. So then I'd get that half price. And then I would repeat that process for that Cash and Carry. And then when I go there to write that check, I have another one going because I'm going to at least do 5 or 6, or maybe 5, Cash and Carry runs today. And Cash and Carry opened midnight, or did they 24 hours back then? But like that is a goal. I got to do 5 because I have a certain dollar amount. Anything that I did that involved fraud or that involved getting money, I would always have these, and that was just since the beginning, like these targets. The money was important, like that target. So 5 Cash and Carries, if you're doing, $600 per Cash and Carry, you do the math. That was just so I can, eat. So that's how I started with the checks and stuff. And I ate off of those checks. And back then, we had a judge named Judge Heinrich, where his thing was, and checks were kind of big. He said, I'm going to give you a year in the county, not even state. I'm going to give you a year in the county per check. Like to make sure that these check writers aren't walking around getting, per check. And I went in front of him several times. And I never got all that time. I always had a lawyered up. So that was then. And then I started getting the checks. Then I had a good ID Connect and branched into the identities because I had the information. And I'm just calling, getting bank accounts. Let's see if this guy has credit. So then I started doing instant credit. And with the instant credit, it was more of an in-depth knowledge of the person. So I had to start learning who this person was and where I could go, who was susceptible to the instant credit. And how that was back then was you wouldn't get the whole line of credit. You'd be approved for $5,000. And instantly you'd have access to $1,000. And Dillard's was real good with that. Bird Eyes, all of those stores, those two main ones, instant credit, but everywhere else. Best Buy, Circuit City, anywhere really. But like those were our mainstays for what we were doing. Did that for a while, in and out of jail. That's where I started making. Oh, and then I incorporated. So once I started extinguishing these IDs, these names with what we were doing, I'm like, well, I've got all these profiles in here. What am I going to do with it? Buddies, Aaron's, Rent Right, Rent King, all Rent a Center, all these places that rent, indiscriminately. All you need is A, B, and C things. So I would hone my A, B, and C. The big thing is an apartment, and it takes money to make money. So I would look around. Back then. It was big for these apartment specials, move-in specials. $99 moves you in. Wherever had the special, I'm moving there. And then you Google from where you moved at, all the surrounding renter whatever centers, and I would have it on schedules. Renter centers coming at 3, Rent Rights coming at 5, and on these different days, and they would drop it off. I would have a guy there, 2 guys that I would pay, and they would move that stuff to the storage. They drop it off, move it to the storage, because that stuff never stayed in that house, that apartment, because I'm gonna have it for 2 months. Move-in special month, the eviction month, and during that time, I'm gonna have as many rent things go through there as I can. So that was the rent thing, and like during that time, I was eating. Because you go rent a center, you can get, legitimately TV for the bedroom and a sofa. And I'm not even pre-selling the stuff. Like people aren't putting in orders. I'll sit on it. It's costing me all of, $150. They want $50 for the TV, 40 something for the, and of course I'm bi-weekly. Oh no, of course well, I would do bi-weekly so it would give me more time on that callback. And there'd be times I'd just give them a check over the phone, credit card over the phone to make that payment to extend my time in getting it moved out. Each place I'm outfitting 2 rooms. And when I go in, I give the impression that, I'm affluent, I've got money, I'm doing this for a son, I'm doing it for, not a son, I'm doing it for a friend, but I've got money. I'm doing it for someone else. I'm doing it to help a roommate, or I got a Super Bowl party this weekend. I'm doing it for my garage. Whatever the story is, my story is always 100%. And even in these places like that, I learned that early. Even any place that I was stepping into, I always let the people talk me into it. I'm never in a rush. And we'll get into that in a different segment that I do here called Case Review, where we take, some viral stuff that's going on the internet, and I kind of look and give my perspective on it, like a lot of the cyber crimes and stuff. But everything that I do, it's planned. Like I'm a big note guy. I'm a big note guy. I like to write stuff down, go back to it, and see those thoughts and stuff. I like to do things. I'm a chores, get it done guy. Like I love a productive day to be, I knocked out DMV this and that today. Feel kind of good, and it's only 5. Or I got all of this stuff done before traffic at 1. Anyway, so I meticulously kind of plan things as far as like, okay, I got from Rent Right, I got ABC, the Rent Right at this location. I got to go to Rent Right because, people swap jobs and stuff. So I'm a traveler. So I was doing that for a long time. The checks and the identity is kind of was my mainstay because that afforded me to do kind of everything. Getting into like with the instant credit, you can get a Sears MasterCard, a Sears, or Circuit City Visa, and do whatever it is you want to do, rent cars, whatever, because I've got an ID. I've got a driver's license, and all the rent-a-car places and stuff took fake IDs. So that is the beginning, where I was doing a lot of that instant scamming and stuff. And then my target. So as you see, like those particular crimes, like if I'm in Rent-A-Center, that's 8, 9 crimes in one particular instance. And a lot of that, my stuff is like that. A lot of my ex stuff is like that. Like figuring something out, going at it. That's the that's your identity charge. That's your defrauding charge. That's all that. That's why like the charges just would pile up. And then, and of course, a part of all of that story is in and out of jail, in and out of prison. The charges would be so many, where like the state would be like, you don't really have a victim, killing anybody, knocking nobody down. I can't not give you time. And like my numbers would be crazy. No victim, no, like the state never had a thing for me. Like I never had this bad juju going into court. Like, damn, I wonder. It was always like, I'm guilty. What can we work out? I'm not a probation candidate. I don't want to be on probation. I'm not a police person. Like, I don't like the interactions. I feel that they clock in after their coffee in the morning. They clock in to find criminals. So they're not your friend. None of them are. Zero. 1 out of 100, zero. There are some that are more personable than others. But like, you signed on to be on the other team back then. Now, I'm neutral team because I do good business and have a good, by the way, link in the description. Soon, I'll be posting about cars if you're in the Tampa area. We do custom cars. Okay, so that is the beginning, and that is my in and out of jail stuff. I met Zach kind of farther along. This is just in the beginning, in and out of jail. My sister kind of got out. Me and my sister didn't really intertwine our business, which was bad. We didn't really. My sister dealt with the hood kind of a little bit. I don't want to say she's a hoodlum, but she did. My sister was a booster back then, and by boosting, I mean professional level. They would wake up 6 a.m, drive till the malls open, and work their way back in the city. At the end of the day, when all of them, they'd be in an SUV, and in the day they'll come in the house, and they're putting all these clothes on the floor. And they don't just boost clothes because it's teams of 4. They've got a roller, a puller. I forgot all the nicknames for it, but they go in there like the Navy SEALs. They pull the person. They've already taken, let's say they're in the polo section. They've got 6 pairs of pants. According to those sizes, they get those matching shirts, and they prep it. Put these shirts here. They put it on the rack. So when it's time to roll, you got the girl that opens that big old comforter bag that you put the comforter when you buy that bag. They open that motherfucker, and it's got duct tape on the duct tape. Some type of tape. I think it's duct tape, that electrical. So they line that. That's the buzzer beater. It's not going to go off when they're leaving. They don't care about who's coming behind them because they're bringing that stuff out of there. So they've got this rack and they've got that rack. So they've got their 2 bags. They've made their haul. They're out the door. Win, lose, or draw. Because once they're doing that, the other girl went to go get the car. That car's already crunk up, doors open and rolling towards them. They're in the car, they're gone. They were, but like they would work. And my sister had other women that sold for her. In other hoods. She didn't sell no clothes out of her house. And that was my sister. That's the bitch of the litter. So I got to be a thoroughbred. And yeah, so I've always chased a high dollar, a high number. I've always wanted, hundreds. Broke to me is when I've got the money in my pocket, and then that's it. So I'm down to my last 20s and ones. Although, I've been broke and pulling pennies and waiting to make that move. But like around my sister, who was an absolute go-getter. Like she's an alpha female. I've always wanted shot for the stars. So here we go. I would say that brought me to the point of, where Zach was and meeting him and rubbing elbows with him. Before that merger, for me, it was a lot of work. Like, those were my main things with between checks, the identities, a little plug here and there, a lot of plug here and there. Back at that time, like I'm always on the phone because my target dollar is so high in my head. Like daily, I have to profit X amount of dollars. So I'm always churning Monday through Sunday. Then I met Zach, and it refined my hustle. Like, Zach is meticulous in, like, I like to write things down and organize my thoughts. He takes those thoughts, prints them out, and organizes them in a folder. So I brought the identity end to his hustle. He would do the banks, and he had the checks, convenience checks from hitting mailboxes and getting those company things and company stuff. And then he would get puppets and people to go and drop this and drop that. So you have that weakness of how strong is that guy? How bold and stand up is that guy? Where when I came, it went to, well, we can do that. You can have a staff of competent people that can put on a costume. Like it's definitely not going to be me, but I can put on a costume and do such and such. So, those minds came together and we formed something that we profited for many years. And nothing bonds you like money, and hand over fist, that money was coming. And even during that time, those times, like, and going in and out of jail, like the programs, because I always would get some type of program, because the lawyer, if I'm committing crimes, I've got lawyer money put up. And this was back then. I've got lawyer money put up. So, and I've had the same lawyer since the beginning of my crime sprees. And he knows me. So he knows when I come through okay, you're guilty, how are we going to go at it? Okay, this is what I'm willing to accept. We're working towards that goal. All that, well, I got it. They gave me an offer. Yeah, I don't want to hear it. If it's not what I paid you for in the beginning, we're not there yet. So accept the offer. You don't have to tell me. And we're going to keep continuing it and such and such. So he and me and Joe Botiford and I had a great relationship, and he's gotten me out of a lot of stuff. I've got a lot of programming during that time. And I would definitely say those programs molded me. Kind of had no choice. Like, when you're going through those programs in jail and all that, if it doesn't make you insane, or if it doesn't harden you, because you've seen the cats that get out of jail and they're a little stiffer, they're a little, and it makes you into this bitter person, especially like in, prison, jail. You are encapsulated in this world, and the world that you're encapsulated in is like a gladiator school. All the people who run in this world are kind of dummies. And, the heads of gangs and this cat and this jit, all of these people are the broke cats from out here that go to jail, and they're still plotting. They were scheming and plotting out here. Now they're in a more dire situation because they don't know nobody rich, and now they're asking for these nobodies that's rich to send me some money. And it's like, once you go to prison, once you go to jail or whatever, you become like a cell phone bill that calls and that you have to answer. So, this burden that you become, people don't have. They burnt so many bridges. Luckily, I had my sister. I've always had little hoes or whatever that, send me money. I've never not had. There's a mass majority of people in there that don't have. And because they don't have, they are menacing in there. They were menacing out here. So they're even worse in there, and they're desperate and they're dumb. And desperate and dumb equals irrationality that's crazy, that goes crazy. I've literally seen arguments over. I stopped a gang fight over a cup. A cup. A plastic cup. They sold them for literally 68 cents, brand new. But this guy bought his new cup, or he had a cup. Somebody stole it in the day room because he was a big guy. He figures he can leave it in the day room. He made his little announcement, Big Bear, and bought another cup. Eventually, that one got stolen. And I guess he just had enough of it. So he's, all these pussy niggas fault this, fault that. Y'all ain't gonna be do me any kind of way. And he ranted. And finally, another bear came out and like, bro, shut the fuck up. Like, you got to put an address on it. Like, I gave you your time. You just ranting and raving. So now you making me feel like I'm one of the pussies in here. You need to bring that shit down. And so they were finna go at it. One was a blood, one was, from another set. Who knows? Yeah. I just happen the type of cat I am. Like, everybody knows me. Six, what's up, Six? I'm more of the athlete. So and in prison, there's cliques. You click up. You're rolling with the gang members. You're the gunners, which is the cats that, chasing the hoes, the female officers and all of that. And that's a long thing. There's the athletes, and that was me. I'm always yard open. I'm running to the basketball court, or I got there dragging me out of bed because Tampa's playing against the such and such, and we're gambling or whatever. But, football, basketball, whatever's going on, I'm in when I'm not in confinement, which was often. So, yeah, the head of both of them cats were on my football team. And we had this outcast football team. All the confinement cats got together because we couldn't get on the squad. So we made this football team called the Outcasts, and it was the confinement guys. So it just so happened both of them were on it. And, they were kind of hesitant about starting this big old thing. That's why they were willing to speak to me. And I was like, bro, listen, my name Bennett. I ain't in it. I just want to say, if y'all go through it over a cup, you can't give me no principle. It's not about principle. It's about stupidity. I offered to buy the man 2 cups because it's a cup. You're ready to put your brother, you're willing to have your brother spend extra time in jail. Who knows what happens with this when this goes down? All over a cup because it's principle. Because you think a motherfucker is disrespecting you because they stole your cup. Newsflash. These motherfuckers have been stealing all their life. They stole your cup because they don't have a cup. They stole your cup because you left the cup and they figured that it wasn't valuable to you. Whatever reason it is, they stole your cup. Don't get caught slipping. It's not their fault, it's yours. But anyway, they saw the logic and stuff. And again, like I played ball with these guys, so they know. They kind of like call me an OG, because I'm kind of level-headed when it comes to certain stuff. And they saw the error. Anyway, prison is crazy. Wouldn't wish that on anybody. And I just think that kudos to cats that are kind of still involved in whatever game you're in. And you tune into us and stuff, some ex-guys that have been through it and have done it, and you can kind of see error in what we did. I know we attract a certain audience, but kudos to guys that are looking for different ways. Like I've received a lot of stuff on like IG where people kind of contact me directly, and they're like, listen, what's up with a mentorship? What's up with, teach me the game, blase squaw. And, I put out the content. You can kind of lean on, I'm non-active. And, I'm not, I don't want to actively show anybody because I wouldn't want to put that life on anybody. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want you going in and out. That's hard. It's hard on family. And one thing you can't get back is time. This is why they punish you with it. Because, like, I would give anything to get back those 2006, 2007, 2008, like whatever those years. You can't get back. Like yesterday, we'll never see it again. So that all of that's memory. So I wouldn't want to encourage people that are in a life of doing something that can take away the one gift that no one can take away from you except when you take it away from yourself. You know, I wouldn't want to do that. But when it comes to mentorship and when it comes to all of that kind of stuff, it is 100% how you do things, bro. You can't, and the commonality with me falling, Zach falling, Matt falling, like though there is a point where you do things and you know the consequence, you know the in out, you know where you're fail at, you know your weakness, and you still do it because there's a desperation level. Like your back is against the wall, you're broke, and there's a desperation wall. So you cut corners and stuff, and those same corners that you cut, you leave that footprint, and then they on the stuff that you left behind. So it's not what you do, it's how the fuck you do it with anything, with business, anything. And I've learned that through the years, and especially branching and connecting with Zach. And during our run, like the way we do, we had met each other at a point of refinement. Like I had my craft to a point where, you know, things were, and of course Zach had his where he was just doing so, and all of that brought me to the point where I met Zach. The mind state, the mind frame that I was in, where I was like full steam ahead. I was on my shit, and I was a little vain when I met Zach. Like I met him in the county, and we're in booking, and you know his girl's talking to me, and I'm like, lady, I'm actually trying to bond out. You know, the corporal, there was a corporal that was trying to get my attention and speak, and that's what got her attention to me, because she saw corporal speaking to me about, you know, on like a kind of fraudulent level. I think he was like, you know, well, what's up? Well, what name you in here under now? You know, he was one of those loud voiced big black cats. Real cool. Corporal something. I don't want to give his name. But I had actually got him, I dealt with a few officers. I got him a washer and dryer. I got him Samsung washer and dryer. It was stainless steel and stuff. He paid me $750 for the set. It was an employee discount. And I had a few people, and I had a classification officer. An outside sheriff was a girl. She was gay. Her girlfriend was my barber, and she did some barbering for me. I met the girl. The girl connected me with the guy, the corporal. He was with he was just one of them cool corps, so you know he was with it. Fit his MO. And he plugged me in with other people. I've sold St. Augustine grass. I did a whole front and backyard for a corporal. She paid me about $3,000. I got a trampoline and some stuff for some other people. So in any event, like I was on my shit then. I had a little favor in the jail because I'm a fucking frequent flyer. And then I met Zach, and things kind of blew up from there. But that's going to be part 2 of this cast, where I will be dressed differently. Usually I like to do my kind of black shirt thing. Shout out to Matt Cox over there in with Matthew Cox True Crime. What an inspiration, right? Like he brought me on the show, and from like the onset, him and his editors, his production team, like they have been on me, on Zach, like, listen, you guys have a great story. You guys are personable, and you know, this is something that I've always wanted to do. And like they have held my hand. Like just this morning I was having camera issues and couldn't figure out, you know, some stuff. And you know, Matt's editing team, I gave them a text. I didn't want to call, Sure enough, they were filming. And even during production, they're answering questions, and obviously they got us up and running. Shout out to Black Zach. He just left a little while ago. So yeah, like they are awesome. Matthew Cox, True Crime. Look them up. But yeah, all of that stuff kind of led me to the meeting of Zach, and why everything like sprouted off on such a good level. There's so much of a filler. Like listening to those guys, they tell their story so well and so spaced out. Like I'm over the end. No, I wanted to make a portion of my story with Zach on. I want to bring him in and kind of have him in the background, helping give his insight, because it was an awesome time. But a lot of that, even though I mean that was a time, and we'll get into all of that. Right before then, I would say, oh, we were stealing cars from the airport. Duh, I remember that. So during the check writing time, that's how I was getting around. We were like right from the airport, close to the airport. One of the, was it Enterprise? They were stationed right next to the airport, and we could just go around back, hop a gate, hop in a car that they were washing or wherever in that section. Keys are in it, and just peel. We would pick out cars. I think back then my favorite was an Eclipse. I kind of remember that convertible. We were looking for convertibles and stuff. We wouldn't get like the high end stuff because Enterprise didn't really carry those. I definitely was looking for. I was looking for like the convertibles, any type of swagger. Sometimes we would get Mustangs in. So yeah, we were. That's how we would get around. That is it. I'm gonna wrap up this one, and there'll be a part 2. This is just the beginning. This is up until the time I guess I met Zach. I'll be doing some more fillers on this time period because there's some to cover. A little bit. I'll get into a little bit of the jail experiences and stuff. I was in ACI, which is a prison, and I probably made about 10 grand in ACI. Was it ACI? It was ACI, the work camp, and we were making dough in there. But that's another story. Listen, guys, thank you for tuning in. If you're not subscribed, do that. If you haven't dropped a like, do that, because there's a movement. There's a movement going on, and I want you guys to be a part of it. Thank you guys for tuning in. You guys are awesome. What I would love for you to do, like I read your comments. If there's some content that you would like, again, I'll be doing like the case review stuff, and then some other stuff. Like I'll be going out into the field, like getting a taste of Tampa, downtown, trying to meet some guys, doing some live interviews with some live ex-cons that I know. I want to do some content where I'm actually at the jail, and like some of the guys that are being released, I'd like to do parts like 1, 2, and 3. Maybe grab up someone specific and take a look at what they've got going on and kind of do a part segment. But yeah, so if there's any ideas you guys have, leave a comment down below. Again, like, and make sure you're subscribed, and stay tuned. We got a lot going on. I am 6. This is the Crime Chronicles. Peace.